Who is this who enters unannounced? You know damn well who.
The Book of Boba Fett, streaming December 29th.
And welcome to the Star Wars Reporter Podcast, episode 78. Hope everyone had a great holiday. We just got finished watching Chapter 1 of the Book of Boba Fett. And we've been excited to talk about everything. We actually did the group watch, sort of. Plus. It sort of didn't sort of work for us. And it's kind of hard when one person's on the West Coast Canada, one person's in the middle of Canada, East Coast, and then Jason, who isn't here right now, is in Florida. So it was kind of funny trying to sync it all up. But we finally got through episode 1 of the Book of Boba Fett, and there's some art here, but I'm really excited to talk about this. And as I'm talking, it's getting foggier and foggier in this mask.
Well, I didn't know we were talking to Wookiee Steve. I thought we were actually talking to Boba Fett there for a second. They had me fooled. Whoa, no!
Under there?
Look at that.
So it's very cool. I like to joke because my beard comes down through the bottom. I was like, this is what happens if Boba Fett really let himself go.
What you should do is you just shave where the mask is, and now you don't see your beard.
No,
okay,
because it'd be this big triangle.
That's it. How cool would that look? It would look like a Boba Fett mask when you're not wearing one.
I'm lazy because I could just tuck it up, but I'm kind of lazy. So
here's long enough you could put a ponytail into it, even if you wanted to.
Oh, braids! I could do the whole Viking thing.
You could.
Very cool.
Look like Thor in Endgame.
Oh, I have the hammer. Wait,
that's right.
Are you calling me fat?
No, no, I'm not calling you Big Lebowski. What are you talking about?
So, yes. Let me take this off so I can actually breathe. But welcome to the show. I'm excited to talk to you guys. I haven't talked to you guys since before the holiday break. And everyone who's watching right now, I just want to, of course, do my thing about making sure you subscribe to the channel. We've actually been growing immensely, and we're pretty happy about that. Also, make sure you follow us on our social media. And of course, if you want to collaborate, have a promotion, a news tip, or just want to say hi, you can contact us at contact@starwarsreporter.com. And of course, check out starwarsreporter.com for all your latest news if you're not looking at a better site than this one first.
I don't think there one exists better than this one. Come on.
Oh, I hear you. So, guys, let's just get right into it. Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 1. What are some thoughts? I took some notes because I can't remember 5 minutes past anything. So,
well, I just want to start, as I've mentioned before, I'm a huge fan of Robert Rodriguez. He's my go-to director. As you can see behind me, Sin City, From Dusk Till Dawn, my movie posters there. I'm a filmmaker myself. I try to emulate what he does. So finding out, first he directed an episode of The Mandalorian, one of the best ones ever, I thought. And then, of course, I find out a couple months ago that he's actually not just directed a couple episodes. He's the executive producer for the series. Made me much more excited. Just because, for one, who doesn't like Boba Fett? And this mysterious bounty hunter from the original trilogy of Star Wars, who you've seen very little about, but is very, very popular. Now he's got his own series, and the executive producer is Robert Rodriguez. And of course, he directed the first episode. So I was very excited about it.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I think you almost, with a character like Boba Fett, you almost need someone like Robert Rodriguez, a little Sin City or Machete vibes. So you need that kind of that level of seriousness for the character. But I mean, all in all, the episode was amazing. I loved it. Right, we were just talking about that first that opening sequence with the flashbacks. That's what we were waiting for, right? For how many years everyone was waiting for answers to what happened. And then, he appears in Mandalorian season 2, and now we get answers to our questions. And boy, was that phenomenal. Just seeing him, wake up in the Sarlacc pit. And it's just his immediate reactions of, how are you going to survive getting digested?
Survival. Yeah, survival. That was a big thing I noticed. It's first instinct was survival, right? So,
yeah.
First of all, where am I? and then it was instantly survival mode right away.
Yeah.
And I just want to like tip my hat to Steven, Wookiee Steve there, because he made some big bold predictions, and I thought 3 of his big bold predictions were correct right off the start of the series. The fact that he's going to be in the medical treatment. I don't know what it's called, the big tube of
like a Bacta.
Yeah,
same thing.
The Bacta tank. Yeah.
I thought that would be all prior to him being in Jabba's palace, but obviously he's always recuperating.
Right.
It's a long journey back, but one thing we all watched together was, what's the stormtrooper doing there, right? Well, my thinking is there's been Imperial presence in Tatooine for a long time, and I just think Jabba Hutt, they're trying to probably maybe flex on him, and he says, I don't think so, and probably just dumped one there. You slowly get digested over how many years in the Sarlacc pit? Thousands of years?
1,000 years or something.
It's not. It doesn't surprise me I saw a stormtrooper in the Sarlacc pit.
I thought that was a really cool touch too. A throwback to the past Imperial presence on Tatooine, and the fact that he actually got to like interact a little bit with this stormtrooper who's probably been in there for several years being digested, and pulling out the oxygen or whatever he did to plug it into himself to just give him that little oof. I thought that was super cool.
You don't even think about the fact that it might be hard to breathe down that Sarlacc pit, right? And it probably was, right? So that's a kind of, like you said, a neat little touch, again, but how just a survival instinct kicked right in, sort of thing, right? Grab the little hose, stick in your mask, get a big breath of air. Okay, now act. So yeah, it was really cool.
It would have been cool if we were able, the stormtrooper was, I guess, enough, right? Because Boba Fett had to move fast in what he was doing, but it just would have been cool if you would have seen a couple of the other henchmen that had fallen in at different stages of decay. Would have been kind of a callback to but I think they've done that enough, just bringing the series in. But it was very cool seeing the stormtrooper and just the whole, because when I was a kid, didn't you all think, I wonder what it's like inside in there? Like, what is that?
It's a good glimpse of what it did look like inside. But I imagine doing more, building a set like that would be really expensive. So I think they probably just got the point across and moved on, because he did the flamethrower thing, right? And then it didn't show anything else, and then all of a sudden he's punching out. So I think they just kind of save money and resources and just let your imagination fill in the rest.
Yeah, it was cool to see him back in that tan undersuit too. That was like, to me, that was like Return of the Jedi. Like, bang, we're right there, right after, and to see him crawl his way out through the sand. And then to see that Jabba's floating palace, I forget what it's called, in disarray on the ground in the sand there, that was really cool too.
His sail barge, yeah. That was cool. Jason made it. Welcome,
hey,
Jason. So we were just got to where we were talking about the Sarlacc pit.
We can't hear you.
Muted. You're muted.
Now you're muted for sure. Oh, your mic just wasn't working. Your mic's just not working. No, now you're muted, it says.
Yeah, it says you're muted.
Hey,
there we go.
Oh, we're gone again.
He's gone.
Technical difficulties.
Just overall, we'll give Jason a second.
Move
we'll
on.
Keep going, and I know Jason's going to have some exciting thoughts about the opening sequence. But even Wookiee Steve, your prediction about the Jawas coming in, we were just talking about that too.
Scavengers,
they didn't care if he was alive. Scavenging, ripped the armor off his body, which is a really necessary. We needed to know what happened with the armor because it showed up, in the early parts of Mandalorian season 2.
Right.
And it plays a key part in the story, right? The armor is an essential part of his identity.
Yeah, most definitely. So,
but obviously,
no, you go ahead.
I was just saying, obviously, the explosion of Jabba's barge attracted the Jawas. I'm sure that's what they do. They see explosion. Oh, Utini. Let's go over there and check that out, right? Because there's gonna be some wreckage there. Obviously, we can just go scavenge and pick up what we want and go from there. And obviously, they find a gem. They find this, suit of armor on this potentially close to being dead person. You can't fight back. Just take it. It's worth a coin too.
The little jerks. If Wayne was here, he would be defending the Jawas. So he really loves the Jawas.
The Jawas, in my experience of watching Star Wars, haven't been really, overly helpful to anybody, really, right? They tore apart Mandalorian ship. They forced them to go get an egg, so that they stole R2D2. They're all about profit. Surviving.
You just can't trust them.
Yeah.
You can't trust.
See, when I was a kid, I loved the Jawas. These like neat little sand type monk-looking creatures with the glowing eyes.
Yeah.
That zapped R2 and selling stuff to Uncle Owen. I thought they were awesome.
I love Jawa. It's just saying they're not the nicest people. I think we can hear Jason. Talk,
hello?
Jason. Talk. You hear us, Jason?
I can hear you clicking.
Yeah, I can hear him clicking too. I don't think he can hear us now.
Can you hear us?
No, I don't think he can hear us.
I don't think he can hear us.
No.
But we can hear you. We can hear you. Anyways,
we can hear you, Jason. He's like, oh, what? Okay.
Yeah, the flashback sequence was great, and then we're transported right back. We sort of get the montage of him being dragged through the desert, and boy, does he look rough. Hey,
I know,
like just scarred up, sunburnt. Looks like his skin is peeling and dry. But it was cool to see them like leading him as a prisoner.
I loved how the overall look of it. You guys heard me. I said this looked gorgeous. Like between the sand people like dragging him through the desert, on the bantas. It just everything about it. The suns. Everything was setting it up that this is not a good place to survive in on your own, sort of thing. And it really built up the fact that this whole experience of him surviving the Scarlet Sarlacc pit and now being captured by the sand people and dragged across the desert was not helping his case of getting healthier. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I thought
he wasn't slick Boba Fett either, right? He was disoriented still, and he was very much burnt, probably from the Sarlacc, the acids in its stomach, and he looked really out of it. And you kept saying that, Adam, like, wow, he looks really bad. Wow, he looks really. You kept saying because he did every scene in the flashback. He looked horrible.
Yeah.
Of course he should.
We should probably say spoilers.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
A little late, maybe.
If you tuned into a podcast called Chapter 1, the Book Boba Fett review, then it's your own fault.
Good point.
I think one thing that we haven't talked about yet, that we've talked about in past podcasts, is no Dengar.
Yes, that's what Steve said right away when they noticed there was no Dengar. Right? Like, possibly missed opportunity. Who knows?
Because that was the other story, right? The one story I talked about from the comic where the Jawas find him and Han and Leia find him, and then there was the other story where Dengar finds him.
But again, don't get me wrong. I thought what they did was fantastic. I'm just a Dengar. Not that who could be a Dengar fan. I don't think there could be a Dengar fan, but I had the action figure. I used it lots. I always had him teaming up with Boba Fett and stuff like that. So to see a live action version of Dengar actually doing something besides standing there would be awesome. I think it would be a huge fan service to do such a thing. And I think that everybody would eat it up. They showed
he had a similar treatment to Boba Fett, right? Like always ominous in the background, but I guess Boba got a lot more of the attention and mysticism. And Dengar was always there, and they expanded on him in legends and stuff. I think it would have been cool to see him show up, but I think for those fans who don't watch the movies or series as closely, there'd be a lot of questions about who he was, even though it would be complete fan service, and I would love every second of it.
Yeah.
I think it would be the cameo would be lost on some. But
again, it's okay. Again, if you introduce him properly, Like, I'd rather them do it right. And if we're going to bring him into the show, let's bring him into the show. Like, I really liked about the Mandalorian. Now, I know it was an IG-88, but they really got an opportunity to showcase that droid and that bounty hunter droid, right? So that was really cool. Now we're getting a chance to see Boba Fett in action. Seeing Dangar, seeing Bosk would be so cool as the series progresses. Like a great opportunity. Yeah, bounty hunter, other bounty hunters interacting with him would be sweet.
And maybe we'll see that yet. Like this is a bounty hunter that is now a crime lord. So you could think maybe some of his old coworkers, bounty workers, clansmen come back. Like maybe we'll see Dengar and Bosk and maybe Cad Bane come back and try to figure out this new dynamic of a peer now becoming a crime lord.
See, that would be fantastic. Like, the thing is, there's so many ways they can take this story, right? Like what you're saying is a great opportunity to bring in other characters that people are familiar with. So again, you're doing you'll do a backstory so the new fans can get excited about it, and of course, all the veteran fans can be excited about it.
Yeah, yeah, I'd like to see that too.
Yeah, it's a good concept because it could be like, oh, Boba is the crime lord now, took over for Bib, and remember we were good buddies back in the day, like that kind of stuff. Like even Dengar and him might actually, I don't know the whole story, but they might actually have a friendly relationship anyways. And someone like Cad Bane being brought in, like if you're going to do Star Wars Underworld, do Star Wars Underworld. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
It's one season, 7 episodes, go nuts. People cry about fan service. Too bad.
You're in the wrong. Don't even bother watching if you're worried about fan service, right?
Yeah.
Jason.
And then I think we saw a little bit of that. Oh, Jason, he's back.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
I can. I'm having technical difficulties. I can barely hear.
Well, we can hear you.
Oh, that's good. So we're one step better.
Nice to see you, Jason.
You guys too, man, for sure. Don't let me interrupt the podcast, man. You guys.
We were just talking about.
We're still in the intro, basically.
The intro. Him making it out of the Sarlacc pit, and his traunt through the desert as a prisoner.
Right, and we was mentioned that it's too bad that Dengar wasn't there to help him as well, and we got into a Dengar topic.
Yeah, that was fantastic. That was the scenes that was the Star Wars we needed to see.
Yeah.
That was the Christmas present.
Yeah.
That was kind of the most impactful thing of the episode for me. Like the one thing I thought was, the whole thing was cool, but like the trailer actually did sort of show the meat of what the show was about as far as him establishing himself, and it almost I think they obviously didn't mean to give away, but it almost kind of did give away that the thrust of the episode through the whole trailer was like, oh, all right, we saw him as Lord Fett basically and kind of taking tribute, and then that was pretty much it. Like like the trailer did kind of almost show everything, but all the sand people stuff in the now and I'm sorry, with the flashback stuff, I thought that was fantastic. It was worth the episode.
Yeah, I love the sand people's inclusion. Like I've always been fascinated by them since A New Hope, and now to see them and you can see differences in the tribe and different garb and stuff like that, different hierarchies, and the younglings. I thought that was a cool touch too.
Yeah, one thing we said during the watch part, I can't remember who said it, but they're really enjoying the fact they're expanding more on sand people, right? Like I love the fact that they have a very similar type of capture structure. Like when back in episode 2 when Anakin's rescuing his mom and she's all tied up and stuff, right? So they tie their victims up lots. They keep them in the sun all day long, wearing them down. They obviously don't care about the people too much, right? They're just kind of slave workers, right? So
they're invaders, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All these people are invaders to their world.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, right? So they just kind of treat them like that. They're just
They had a really interesting look, different from even the Mandalorian, right? The Mandalorian followed the whole, the light tan kind of look to it, but this tribe seemed to have the dark browns and you kept saying, I think, Todd, about the or maybe it was Adam, about the leader, just the different stuff on his outfit, and how regal he looked differently from everyone else, and the young ones didn't have all the cloaks. It was more like just form-fitting pants and shirt kind of deals, which was really, really different than what we've seen. Even the tents from the prequels in this one was very different, right? And I really do enjoy how they're expanding on them ever since ever since the Mandalorian, I think, blew that up. And now they're just not like,
Yeah.
But maybe
Hector's comment there, I think they were using Boba as a means to train their children. See, I almost got yeah, I think there's some truth there. I didn't think about it like that. I guess this is skipping forward to the end of the episode, but I was sort of under the impression that, the little guy comes back with a head and is making up the story that we don't hear about how he took on the thing.
Probably.
And then the older one sort of gets the hint, okay, this was probably the prisoners doing.
Yeah. It's like, look what we did. Even if you said that, look what we did. And they're probably like, But it is true, right? Like the youngling's probably at the age where, he might be a man or something. So
the rite of passage sort of
little
thing.
Things. Yeah. Especially with their other prisoner who was like squealing out
yeah.
the escape. So they just thought, oh, he could handle one of these cowardly outworlders, not knowing that Boba Fett is cray. So,
or like Hector says, maybe like it's a rite of passage or a training opportunity for the young ones, and maybe they don't have the big brown cloaks because they have to earn them. Maybe who knows, right? Like, like this is maybe the first time we actually see the leadership of the Sand People, right? Like before, all we've ever seen them was outside, right? I know in episode 2 we're there, but Anakin's just there attacking one little kind of hut sort of thing, right? So we didn't see an expanded thing. So maybe they have an archy of clothing when it comes to, if they're not out in the desert searching for stuff or killing people, maybe they're at home and we're in their big, huge sand parkas.
Yeah. I'll just take a second to remind everyone that's watching us right now to make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and check us out on our social media again for all the latest news. Yeah. And I'm just wondering, I guess we're skipping kind of a little bit ahead, but it just seems like that Boba's going to learn somehow from the tribe. They're going to respect him now that he's not, sort of. It's going to be that slow. It's that story of the outsider coming into that native village and proves himself, like, I don't know, Dances with Wolves, except not with wolves, and then proves himself and then kind of learns their ways and they respect him. Now, my question is this, and I'm glad they didn't do that in this episode anyways. Are they going to take their helmet off? And if they do, are they going to look like how they're described in the stories as some kind of like, they look really alien, like Jason, you might know this. Like,
that would be cool.
That would be cool. But are they going to try to do this whole like romance thing? And so it's going to be like the ones that are obviously the one that fought with him in the desert is obviously a woman. So is she going to be like this beautiful human, or are they going to do, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's exactly what I was thinking. He was like dancing with wolves. That's right.
Except it's dancing with bantas.
Trademark.
Or what were those alien dogs that they have?
I don't know what they're called. Yeah,
yeah.
I thought it was really cool. And I think this sort of gets to your point there, Steve, is like we see him in Mandalorian come through and he's in his, like sand person garb and he's wielding the weapons and he looks like an absolute pro. But when he's captured, he gets his butt whooped good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, keep in mind, he's, just escaped from a Sarlacc pit and everything.
And dragged across the desert and hasn't had water. But Steve was mentioning,
could be showing like, okay, he gains their respect by protecting the youngling, and they, bring him in and train him. Same idea.
Yeah, and Steve also mentioned too that maybe he got his butt whooped because he usually deals with guns, no armor, right? He blasters, his flamethrower, so maybe he doesn't do a lot of hand-to-hand combat, right? So
yeah, no gadgets.
Exactly. No gadgets. So, that's part of his charm. So possibly, like you guys are mentioning that, obviously it's set up pretty easily that he's going to be learning from the Sand People how to be a little more brutal hand-to-hand combat.
Because he shows up in Mandalorian with the gaffy stick and
he was very brutal.
destroys
And
those stormtroopers.
Well, quite frankly,
he goes savage.
the scene when actually after they go on the trip into Mos Eisley or wherever that was, and they have that little interaction. Obviously well, we should go back to the tribute. Let's go back to the tribute, and everybody's coming to him because
Yes.
that scene was so good, right? Everybody's presenting money to him, and then you have this guy come in. His name is it Teakley? Is that what they are?
Twi'lek.
Twi'lek. And he was so pompous, right? And he goes a little thing about the tribute, like he was expecting money, right? That was such a good little twist, and it's just setting something up, for future episodes that I really don't think this guy's going to have a long future. I think because he was quite egotistic.
Yeah. There's gonna be a really interesting dynamic between like the crime side of I think it was Mos Espa that they were in, and like the mayor who seems shady if he's gonna be expecting tribute from a crime boss.
I know, right? So it's kind of it's setting something up for sure. It's gonna be really good.
But isn't that the game though? That's what is interesting. So all these different people are coming and giving tribute, like the Trandoshan, who had the Wookiee pelt as tribute. I was like, no, I know. I was like, damn.
Was it a Wookiee pelt or was it a Ewok pelt, like many Ewoks?
No, it was a Wookiee because
it was definitely Wookiee.
But the Trandoshan was done way better than even the Mandalorian. The eyes were more animated.
Yeah,
it was so much better.
Yeah, he looked amazing.
But
again, it wasn't a background character though. Either it wasn't a background character. Like, the fight scene in Mandalorian, there was background characters, so you don't.
They were background, but even there was some Trandoshans in one of the bars he was in, and they seemed to be the stiff faced, kind of characters. But so this one needed to say things,
interact. Yes.
But what I with the mayor, it makes sense, right? So you're a crime lord, you're in the city, you're doing whatever, like what Jabba did and what Bib was doing before him. So you have to grease the palms of the local politicians so that their enforcers leave you alone. Boba Fett's new to this crime lord thing, and Fennec is kind of like, screw everyone, we're tough, so what they should have said was, oh, I see what they need a bribe. But I don't think he liked the fact on how he asked the Twi'lek, who Adam and I are thinking that the person who's playing the Twi'lek is the character Jeff from Superstore.
I think
it looked and sounded, and the mannerisms were a lot like Jeff from Superstore.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
How he does this thing with his eyes and stuff. Yeah. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, it is like his hands. He does this weird thing.
It was a great character, like a great person for the role to come in there and seem
totally
overconfident. Very pompous. Yeah, I think so for sure. But it's great. Again, if that is him, which we're pretty sure it is. I was watching going, there's something familiar with the guy, but I couldn't pin it. But as soon as you said Superstore, oh yeah, that's who it is.
Yeah.
I thought the interaction, the other interaction that we were talking about, where I forget the species we were just talking about. He comes in and Boba's like, I used to work for him. I think that's going to be a really cool, like, complete change in power dynamic, right? He goes from the hired hand, the bounty hunter, to now he's the crime boss, and they are paying tribute to him. And just like we were talking about before, maybe that's where we see his interaction with other bounty hunters, possibly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, most definitely. I really loved the scene where he goes into that. I wouldn't even call it a cantina because it seems more upscale. I'm going to say whatever club or bar or whatever.
It's a pub. It's music trivia night. Yeah.
But it's very clean, very open. There's gambling in the back. I thought was really cool. My favorite part was when they first show the scene. It shows one of the what are they called? Not Biffs.
You tell the music players?
Yeah, the music
Yeah.
players. So they have the little elephant snout. I'm forgetting everything playing, but they're doing a very slow, clubby version, like a high class club version of that same song from the Cantina Band. Dun, 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 but it was like really slow, like. Dun, dun,
I
dun.
thought that was amazing.
I was just laughing.
One thing I really thought was really kind of cool is to see a pub on Tatooine how it's a lot more lively now that it's not under Empire ruling over the galaxy, right? Like you can clearly see it's a lot more relaxed now. People probably have a lot more freedom to do what they want to do, sort of thing, and it's not all doom and gloom. They have normal working people on Tatooine, not just all gangsters and scum of the earth.
But at Mos Eisley during the Mandalorian, you remember when he showed up there and he went to the cantina, like Mos Eisley was Deadsville, and
That's
maybe
right.
that was just budget. They're like, oh, they can't have it filled, but it was like almost a ghost town. And a cantina just had a bunch of droids in it.
I feel like Mos Espa looked much bigger though. Like maybe Mos Eisley is like that grungy city that we don't really go to anymore, and Mos Espa is now the thriving, booming capital of Tatooine. Who knows?
Maybe, yeah. So that's what they were there. We don't know where they were. Do we really? Didn't say where they're going.
It didn't say, but it's got to be that, right? Because it would be where Jabba's palace was, and that wasn't Mos Eisley.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
I did like the whole feel of it. It's not like with from the
it's great to see
the animated show.
The comment for Hector.
Music teacher keywords. Max Rebo, thank you.
Back.
So my question to the music teacher was: he actually playing the keyboards properly, or just some puppet randomly hitting the keys? That's the question.
Or have you played a version of the Cantina Band song?
Your class. That's a really good one.
That's another way. But you have to do it all slick and cool, like what they were doing in this episode, for sure.
Or jazz it up.
Yeah.
I definitely expected to see that one scene from the trailer where Boba's meeting with the table of ranking officials. I expected that to be the scene where he comes in and I've got a business meeting, and that's where we see Jabba's introduction to the higher ups. But no, it seems like that Twi'lek is going to be a key ally for him, because she showed up in the trailers and had like a very prominent. Yeah,
the stink eye.
But it seemed like they have a mutually beneficial arrangement,
and that could come later on in a different episode. Maybe the mayor comes in and she's like, who knows, right? That reaction from the trailer might not be towards Boba Fett. It could be to a different character entirely.
Right.
But that's kind of neat. Walks in, you want your helmet polished, right? It's kind of cool, right?
I was
But he said, yeah, sure. You have to give into to their customs and their stuff. So that was kind of.
I thought it was interesting that they had those two characters that came up to them, the male and the female Twi'lek, and asking that, especially nowadays, because the Twi'leks were relentlessly used as slaves, right? And now the owner of this bar is a Twi'lek herself. So, maybe they're employees and not servants, you know what I mean? Which is kind of weird. And, I really like the whole Twi'lek thing. They're really playing that up. Yeah, and this is true too. What Hector's even saying here, right?
Yeah,
came not even a question. She knew the game. They put tribute in the helmet that those stinky Jawas stole.
They seem very appreciative of having his services, So
because she knows the game.
She knows the game exactly, and she knows that.
Yeah, that's right. She mentioned it's Boba's now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked one thing I did really like is them referring to him as Lord Fett. I thought that was really cool.
Lord Fett, yes. They kept saying that.
Yeah.
That was very cool. So I'm looking like this is almost like in the Bad Batch. What was their contact's name? Remember shown Sid.
Sid, yes.
She's no Sid. She's no Sid. I kind of like her better.
There's a lot more trust. I have a lot more trust in this person than I did Sid, for sure.
She's just going to be a better looking liar. is what I'm saying. It's that whole underworld, right? She just knows how to play the game like Twi'leks do.
Yeah.
Just better than what Jeff did. That's what I'm calling that Twi'lek until we know his name.
Yeah.
So I really like the fact too that they brought back Gamorrean guards. You know, the
Yes.
two that weren't initially on board with the takeover, getting rid of Bib, but they bought in. And she, and I'm sorry, why can't I remember her name?
Fennec Shand.
Thank you, Fennec Shand. Like how she didn't trust them, but as time wears on, it proved that Boba's onto something.
We do too. You're not talking the Gamorreans. You're talking about the Twi'lek.
No, the Gamorrean guards dancing would be a treat, I think, for all Star Wars viewers.
The Gamorreans were awesome, especially
Yeah.
fight. Oh,
I think Bib Fortuna made the Gamorrean guards go on treadmills when they weren't working.
well, because he was eating all the food. If you saw him,
okay, his Jabba was so skinny. Come on.
Todd, I have to agree with you there. I think it was a great little dynamic there when we had Fennec say, keeping the Gamorreans is a really bad idea, and then they come out of that drinking gambling establishment and they're getting their butts kicked.
Exactly.
And then who comes to rescue them?
Boom.
The Gamorreans, baby.
Right. So that's an interaction that paid off really fast. So like again, it's kind of neat. Now you're building trust in these different characters now, right? Which is kind of interesting. Because now it looks like these Gamorrean guards will be part of the cast, be by the side all the time now, right? So it's kind of interesting. You're building the trust. You're building up the relationships. Effective storytelling, right? So again, it looked like they're trapped. They couldn't get out of that. They're in trouble. And like you said, who comes in? Our green saviors come in.
I think just like the Sand People, this is redemption for the Gamorreans. I like what they did it. I like how they're doing it.
Totally, because they did absolutely nothing in Return of the Jedi.
Nothing.
Well, they were just like these crazy modeling creatures that did. You're like, how did these defenders? Because in the stories or even in the role playing game, they were tough as nails, but it's kind of hard to take them serious. But that was the special effects at the time, right? It's the most they could do with these things. So,
well, I do kind of miss. I kind of do miss the plump ones because I just like the way they looked, but at the same time, it worked. I just don't think they could fill up a Rancor now. They're much skinnier.
There's going to be other creatures on that planet. Like maybe that thing he escaped from, he'll find another one of those and jam it down there, or it's just a prison now. He'll just have a whole bunch of people down there that disobey him.
We still haven't seen that shot where they're looking down through that grated little ceiling. So there's got to be something coming up soon. Like
I thought it was going to be Jeff.
It's episode 1, Steve. There's still 6 more episodes to come. I'm sure Superstore Jeff will end up maybe down there.
I just thought it was like in 300, right? When the emissary from the Persian king was saying, give it up, and then what's his name kicks him down there. This is Sparta. I thought it was going to be his and this is Sparta moment, but down into an empty pit. It wouldn't have made any sense. They'd have to go down there and get him.
Well, again, he has to report back to the mayor, right? So which sets up those people attacking him afterwards, right? So,
right.
Hector's comment there. The Gamorreans took Boba back to the bacta tank.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, did he look rough though? Like I think this was a very different Boba Fett than what we saw in Mandalorian season 2, when he looked darn near unstoppable. Right. And now he's looking, very much like he just crawled out of a Sarlacc pit, having to be very dependent on the bacta tank.
Yeah, and maybe that probably has something to do with, because we saw the burns on him. Maybe it's something to do with Sarlacc, the stomach fluids or something that has permanently damaged him in some way. So he needs this bacta tank because this is going to be. That's a major weakness for him.
Yeah.
Huge weakness.
And he's using it quite a bit, obviously. We said one episode, we said him use it twice, right? So, and of course, the bacta tank is a really good opportunity to have your flashbacks. But again, working that into the storyline, obviously, there's going to be more baths as the series goes on, probably. But yeah, there's obviously some kind of side effect from the burning sun. So my guess is Sarlacc pit for sure. But yeah, it's, again, a nice little concept to have. The pit allows him to, immerse himself into his thoughts, right? So it's a great way to get the flashbacks out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Instead of having him just sitting at a table thinking back to it, right? He's kind of put under by this Bacta tank.
Yeah,
and it was interesting. He must really need it. Sorry, because I during the fight he wasn't put down, like he was saved and he was still standing on his feet. But so at some point he must need this daily to even get through the day.
Possible. There was at one point near the end of the battle where both guys are jamming from both sides, and there's other for a long time. Like he's getting fried, right? So there's that one really long. The last little damage he took was a severe one.
Yeah, he did take some electricity there with those taser rods that they had
at the end.
Sure.
Hector makes a good point. It makes him very vulnerable when he's in there too. So he's vulnerable, a lot.
Yes, exactly. Again,
like
have
being on a toilet.
Yeah, exactly. Like in a zombie movie, you don't want to be on a toilet, right? Because that's going to end poorly for you.
Yes, I had that in my survival list when the zombies come.
Yeah,
I am never going to poop again.
Well, you might have other problems if you don't.
So, the other part that confused me at first was when we got to see that outpost, or like that home out in the Tatooine desert, what turned out to be gangsters roughing up this house and burning it and stuff. And it reminded me of Baru and Uncle Ben. And I thought, are they making a hint that maybe it wasn't the stormtroopers that killed his aunt and uncle, but you guys kind of gangsters?
You're going on big. I was like, am I missing something here? I didn't know what I was missing. I think it just sets up later on, because I think these are the raiders that in the trailer. Remember in the trailer you're talking about?
Yeah.
I think that these are the people that he will eventually stop for some reason. There's got to be a reason for introducing these characters. They introduce them because there's also that one shot where he's going down the speeder bikes, right? And this looks like they're speeder bikes.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it's a future episode. It just sets something up, obviously.
Oh, for sure. Well, yeah, my first thought was like, oh my goodness, is this Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru? And then I had to think hard about the timelines.
Yeah.
No, that's impossible. They're long gone.
Yeah, you guys are doing that going, they're dead, guys. They're dead.
But it did look like a moisture farm that they were ravaging there. And I think wasn't it in the Mandalorian that the Sand People had some sort of agreement with the townspeople of a mutual understanding, and maybe this is the dynamic, those scavengers, ravagers, or whatever, that are disrupting the homeostasis of the area, or whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
And that might be the reason why Boba Fett interferes with their actions, because it's unsanctioned activity, probably, right? So if he's a crime lord, everything has to go through him, I'm guessing. If he's not getting a cut of it, my guess he's going to have to put a stop to it or let them know.
Yeah.
So that's what I see that as, is he saw that, so they're obviously looting, obviously doing something criminal activity, and when he's now going to be the boss, he's not getting a cut of it. So therefore, I think
I do like how, again, going back with the Sand People, that they're not just, from the original series, even in the prequels, that they were just the Sand People would go in and just ravage any humans out there, right? So that was a danger. They had to lock down at night and not go anywhere. But it seems that since the Mandalorian, and then now, maybe they're friendly with some of the Outworlders, because, if we're comparing them to, say, Native Americans, where, because basically Outworlders came in and kind of took over the land, so there's that bitterness there. So can we not compare that to, because there were still natives, tribes that dealt with, the white man back in the day and stuff. They did trades or cooperation in, say, war and combat and stuff on this side of the map. So I'm just wondering if, because where they were digging for those little water things was right by this place, and where the monster was and all that kind of stuff, the four-armed monster. But even here they're humanizing them. They're more like Native American. Yeah, for sure. This is what I've been thinking, right? Even with just doing the signing and You know what I mean? They're like fierce warriors, but then they're
Yeah.
not savages. They're not animals. Like they don't think. They're like, okay, you're not like the others, so we're gonna be fine with you.
Yeah. And again, this interaction with Boba Fett's having happens before the Mandalorian interactions, right? So
Right.
this is
Yeah.
that's why they're still a little aggressive in a Mandalorian. And again, there's a trade-off too, right? The Mandalorian was helping them get rid of this huge sand snake, right? So there's got to be some kind of trade-off. They weren't treating Boba Fett really nice. They weren't treating this pink Greedo type character very nice. It's there's got to be something. Obviously, again, not everybody, not the whole tribe, just as one person realized that. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was Adam or Steve. You mentioned that the kid's probably telling a story like, "Look what I did! Look what I did!"
Yeah.
And this other senior official probably went, "Obviously, you helped," and so gave him the water, right? So, so again, now there's a trade off, right? You protected our young, okay, and you didn't run away. You could have, if you killed the creature, you probably could have killed the kid, but yet you didn't, and you came back. Right, so it's the second time you spared the youth. So therefore, they're seeing, okay, now there's some value, there's some trade off, sort of thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So he
Steve,
seemed to
I think you bring up a really good point, and just echoing what Hector said, and you, Steve, said, and Todd as well about the Native Americans. I think there's clear narrative parallels, right? And I think that's one of the things that makes Star Wars great is how they pull in those narratives of from history and show that taking place. Like that's what George Lucas relied on for the trilogy, right? Like the rise of Nazi Germany and even the Iraq War and the prequels. There's clear narrative parallels in how our own history is being used, and to pull that in, I think that's brilliant Star Wars narrative. That's what makes Star Wars narrative great.
Yeah.
And to give them that backstory that reflects is like they're not this crazy tribe. It's there are actual inner workings that we get to see and understand now, and there's dynamics that make it so much more interesting than just being those brutal aliens that almost killed Luke in A New Hope. It's we get to see the inner workings. I thought that's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to it. I don't think it's going to be the last. I know we'll see more of the flashbacks, but I wonder if it'll be the last that we see of the Sand People, like in the story, not a flashback. So, no, yeah, excellent point. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see. I kind of love the whole bar thing. The whole Sid's was a nice concept in the Bad Batch, but it was just so kind of dead. It wasn't kind of part of the story. But man, every gangster, every criminal, their launching off point seems to be that bar that knows where to find things or this and that. And it kind of reminds me kind of like this whole like the Tales from Mos Eisley, the Cantina, that kind of a stuff where you can have a series with all these different stories coming out of it with no real character. Like the only main character would be like the bartender and stuff like that. So
they could even Mandalorian when he had the guy from Rocky and guy from Predator, can't remember his name.
Yeah.
Yes.
The bounty hunters came to him for the next puck, right? So
yes,
you're saying they could do something like that where he's the main character and everybody comes to him, these different bounty hunters. You could easily do that. You have like sort of anthology ones, right? So it's each mission, he's the only tie-in. He gives up the puck, you follow a different bounty hunter across the galaxy doing whatever they're doing.
Okay. So final thoughts on chapter 1.
The fact that it was good, it was fantastic. It set up the next episode really well. Like when it ended, didn't we all go, "Oh no!" Like it's over, right? And that's what you want to do for this type of programming. You want the show to end where you want to see the next one right away. So, mission achieved, right?
Mm-hmm. So did your director
amazing.
buddy do well then? Is that what you're
I
saying?
thought he did. The fact that Rodriguez directed it, I thought he did very, very well. I just thought, he obviously is a lot more. The fight seems a little more tame than he's used to doing. It's a little more PG-ish. But it was very effective. It had action oriented. It wasn't boring. I loved the interaction. The creature. We didn't talk about the sand creature that came out of when they're digging. The sand creature came out with the 6 arms. We kind of thought it had a kind
Yeah.
of a Kraken look from the original Clash of the Titans sort of thing. But even when I was walking, instead of when I went on the front legs, the middle hands were legs, and I was walking, just how that creature looked when I was walking across the sand, it looked so good. And just
and he killed that thing the same way Princess Leia killed Jabba.
Except the chain was barbed. You guys notice the barbs on the chain?
I did.
It was like oh, that's just not a normal chain. It was like that would do some damage for sure.
See, and I was actually, when we first watched through it, I was actually on the fence about that sand creature, because immediately I was like, okay, it's got Kraken vibes. It's got Steve, I think you said Star Trek vibes. Even like for me, I was thinking like Mortal Kombat vibes.
Yeah, I thought Mortal Kombat.
That was the thing. Like I've never heard of that creature before. Maybe it's in like a video game or novel that I haven't interacted with yet. But that was one thing I'm still wrapping my head around, to be honest with you. It was a really cool addition, and I like it. I just don't know fully how I feel about it yet.
Well, again, there's been new creatures introduced all the time. Mandalorian had those spiders, those ice spiders, right? Those new creatures weren't introduced before, right? But again, maybe my only downside of the whole entire episode was the creature. Even though I love the way it looked, to me, it has to be believable. Why does I understand the type of creature it was? That's where the minus is for me. The negative it would be is that didn't look like a creature that could be under the sand. Like, why is it under the sand? Maybe it's hiding until nighttime, so it's cooler and come out. Maybe that's what it's doing. So it's like hibernating till the sun goes down. It's too hot. That's
and maybe that would have been an opportunity, like in the final Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, that scene where they fall through the sand and there's that snake that Rey heals. Maybe that was an opportunity to pull a creature like that back and tie into the sequel. I don't know, but I think the using the head that the kid brings back into the tribe, that was a really cool part of it, and I overlooked my criticisms.
I have an idea why they didn't use a snake from the Rise of Skywalker, because it sucked. That's my reasoning for it. Why don't we use a snake? No, let's not use a snake. That's what my guess was. But just talking about creatures that doesn't make sense. Like I told Steve yesterday, I watched the vintage Ewok Battle of Endor movie.
Yeah,
and it had this little kind of roundish, kind of furry creature that could run like Quicksilver, like the Flash. It was so. It made no sense. How could that creature run so fast? Physically, it's impossible for it to run so fast with short legs. So I had a problem with that. My wife goes, "It was made in 1986, Todd." But
it's true.
It's still I have to believe that my first reaction was, why is that creature under the ground? So I have to come up with, maybe it's hiding from the sun because it's too hot, blah blah. But again, I don't want to have to do that. Make reasons why it's acceptable. But again,
1986, Todd wouldn't have had a problem.
No, exactly. It wouldn't matter in 1986. Nothing had to make sense back in the 80s.
Everything made sense in the 80s.
It just looks cool. But that's my only negative was a creature. But like the Adam said, like parading around the head as a trophy was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Steve, final thoughts. We didn't get to you yet.
No, I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see how they expand, like I said already, on the bar, how he's going to use the characters in this place and who we're going to see, right? Like we could have these bounty hunters show up at that bar. Where else are they going to go, right? They might show up there first. We might get new underworld people. I just like the interactions, right? You have your space godfather, and it seems really, really cool. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Boba Fett develops as a crime lord, because again, he's used to just going and getting the thing and bringing it back or killing it. Now he's in charge of it, and he seems very awkward and out of place, which is again perfect, right? Like it would make no sense if he was just like bounty hunter following Jabba or following whoever, and all of a sudden, oh, I know everything about crime lord stuff, right? He's not understanding greasing the hands, of politicians to be able to do what he's doing. He's going to run into, we see from trailers, he's going to run into the alliance thing, the interacting with other crime lords, like smaller bosses or whatever that were already in place. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this all unfolds. Like I said, I love the whole, I could sit and watch a whole episode of the camera moving around the bar, looking at all the different characters and stuff like that. So I'm just weird that way. So
one thing I didn't get a chance to talk about was the fact that, oh no, I totally blew my mind. I totally forgot what I was going to say.
Wow, that was good.
Oh, so sorry. I'm sorry.
I like that. You can, Todd, jump in whenever. I'm gonna give another.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Cents here. I liked seeing this version of Boba Fett. He's a little more calculated and methodical about what he's doing. And in Mandalorian, we saw him, a little in debt, he was just a man trying to make his way in the galaxy. And in the animated series, we see him as this, vengeful punk kid who's trying to kill Mace Windu and, establish himself as a bounty hunter. And now we see him as like the Don, right? The center, at the top. So it's really cool to see that. And I think that maybe how they use some of his flashbacks is his time with the Sand People helps teach him valuable lessons that he'll draw on as a crime boss. Maybe we'll see that.
Maybe I thank you, Jay, Adam. But yeah, I'm excited to see the character development. Like we have a very popular character who had no real character development from the original trilogy. Now we're going to expand on the character. We're going to find out more of what makes him tick, and I'm really looking forward to that. And the fact that Rodriguez said, people are going to be blown away by what's going to happen. Like they won't expect what's going to happen. So I'm looking forward to some good big things here.
I agree. Yeah. There's so much, like I said, it's just so different from the concepts of all the movies or other series, right? It's like the epic heroes, but you never see the behind the scenes of the rest of the world, which is like why Star Wars Rebels is one of my favorite animations, right? Because it's kind of like the side heroes and what they're doing and what they're doing in the cities and how they're surviving. And it's really cool.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Hector's in the comments saying all I can say is that Queer and Cad Bane would make an appearance. Yeah.
That would be cool. I hope Cad Bane, like I'm holding out for Cad Bane.
Oh, can you imagine seeing him live action?
Oh, amazing. So they're gonna do a good job with him.
I don't know who Kira is. Who's Kira?
She was in Solo, wasn't she? She was Solo's.
She was Solo.
And she became the one of the leaders of the Black Sun at the end of it. Red Dawn, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. How do I remember Red Dawn? I can't remember any names. Okay, but yeah, that makes perfect sense because that kind of ended somewhere, right? And it'd be nice. Yeah. It'd be nice to see her come back, tie in.
Mm-hmm. That would be cool. That would be cool. It's too bad we wouldn't get to see Maul's involvement in that because at this point he would already be gone from his days at the top. Crimson Dawn. Oh,
yeah. Crimson Dawn. Right now,
that's
Red
it.
Dawn.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hector.
Yeah. Thank you, Hector. That was good. It's too bad we don't get to see a little bit of Maul's entanglement in all this because they did a really good. I think they did Maul justice in the animated series, and it would have been cool to see some of his, dealings occur in live action again. We kind of got a tease of that at the end of Solo, but
so again, I haven't got caught up in all the animated series, but you're saying we can't? There's no way of seeing Maul again. He's totally gone.
Oh, you gotta watch Rebels. We can't have this conversation until you finish watching Rebels.
I'm on Rebels and I'm really enjoying Rebels.
So I just want to show this. Someone already has a preview for episode 2 out, the episode 2 promo, and I just wanted to play this before we kind of get going here.
Hutt once sat upon that throne.
Jabba ruled with fear. I intend to rule with respect.
Why speak of conflict when cooperation can make us all rich?
You all accrued wealth and riches under Jabba. You can again with this man, Boba Fett.
Who is this who enters unannounced? You know damn well I'm the Grand Lord now.
I think they was trolling you. I don't think there's any new information from that trailer.
Well, we do have the character on the swoop bike coming up.
I've seen that before.
Yeah. The character, and I had it written down, she's possibly, I forget the character's name, but she could be a dark Jedi. They pointed it out because of the one arm, and she, from what I understand, it was like these dark Jedis. They weren't official like Sith or anything like that, but they were kind of like from the EU kind of Star Wars stuff that's not there anymore tactically. So we'll see how she's introduced. And the actor this weekend was putting out stuff like, I can finally talk about it because they kind of showed this trailer. I could finally talk about it. I'm so happy and blah, blah, blah. So it'll be interesting. So now they're bringing in Dark Jedi. So how's he going to deal with that?
You know what? You got to think as these actors who are doing Marvel movies and Star Wars stuff and everything's under top secret stuff, like how hard it would be to keep everything a secret, that you can't talk to anyone because, you know, if you talk to the wrong person and it leaks out, like you get in so much trouble. Like,
ask Mark Hamill.
Good point, right? Yeah, like, you know, you got to think that you're sitting on pins and needles waiting for that big payoff, right? That one day, like, you know,
yeah.
Just
well, he said, Mark Hamill in an interview saying Empire Strikes Back, Kasdan and Lucas came up to him and just said, look, no one knows. It's just the three of us that know about this thing. So if it gets out, we know it's you. So here you go. So basically when they filmed it, what's his name? Prowse in the suit was like, no, I killed your father.
Yeah.
And that was it. So everyone was fine and dandy. So nothing was said at all when the movie played. So like the actors were all at the premiere. I guess Harrison Ford leaned over to him. He was like,
did you know that happened, kid?
USOB? Like, you didn't say anything to me. He was quite perturbed about it all. He's like, I couldn't say anything. And
Mark
then he was
Hamill
given the NDA again for the sequels.
Yeah, Mark Hamill did a really good impersonation of that moment at the premiere. Like he's like, because Harrison Ford reached over and goes, "Did you know about that kid?"
Oh yeah, that's right.
so Mark Hamill does a great impersonation of it.
Right, and then the NDA of everyone when they brought back Luke Skywalker to season 2 of Mandalorian. Another giant secret.
But you gotta think it's the whole entire crew. It's everybody. That's a lot of people. You gotta keep quiet.
You just limited. Like I think when they were doing those scenes, they limited it to who was there, but still, especially with social media, like back in the day when The Empire Strikes Back came out, like it'd be really hard, the media, to get that out.
I knew before I watched the movie that Darth Vader was his father because it was in the comic book was released before the movie came out, or
right
before we got it. So I knew that. I knew his hand was going to cut off. I knew all that stuff. But again, I was 7, 8 years old, so I didn't care so much, right? But like, you imagine Infinity War when it came out that he's going to snap and everybody's going to Spider-Man's going to die. Like, you would like, they're so good at keeping secrets now.
I know.
And Jason, Adam, you got to go see Spider-Man before everything's ruined, man.
Yeah, I know. Oh my goodness.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone who tuned in to our review of Chapter 1. Hector in the chat, and there was John. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to check us out, depending on when they're going to be showing these episodes, which I'm hoping is going to be Fridays. But see us next time. We'll review Chapter 2 of Book of Boba Fett. Thanks a lot. Thanks, guys.